Hello and welcome to the Dad and Buried podcast, the anti-parenting parenting podcast, because Pete and I are here. We're parents. We love our kids. We hate parenting, and we come on here every week, minus the last 6 weeks or so, deal with it to trash parenting because parenting sucks, even though
Parenting does suck.
there are parts of it that we enjoy. You know, we wouldn't want to not have our kids, but on my blog and stuff, I've long been calling it the anti-parenting parenting blog or whatever. As we all know, the blog is dead. I'm here on the podcast. It's the anti-parenting parenting podcast. A lot of P's up in that piece.
It's really a catchy alliteration that you've got going there. It's awesome.
Are you down with APP? Anti-parenting parenting?
Well, also, it's not just anti-parenting parenting, because there's tons of anti-parenting parenting podcasts out there. What it is it's from a dad's perspective.
That's
the
true.
Dads. Remember dads? No, shut up.
Papas who are anti-parenting parenting on a podcast.
Well, I think I just add that I'm just trying to figure out what the hell I'm doing. I think
So
that's the
did
other
you
thing.
ever-
And I like hearing stories that from you and from everyone else where it's like, oh my God, I'm either doing the same thing incorrectly or I'm not alone in my desire to try and be better, but at the same time completely destroying my kids' lives.
Well, what I've said in the past in various places, probably in here too, is that one of the best things, one of the things I'm best at when it comes to parenting is lowering the bar for other parents. Like, listen to my podcast, check me out on Instagram, be like, at least I'm not.
Why
as bad
was
as
that not the tagline? Why was it? Why did we have to go? Why did we have to?
I don't know.
Sit
I could.
Anti-parenting parenting.
You know what? I'm workshopping it.
Okay.
I'm workshopping it. Okay. So I did want to ask you. I want to ask you. So, did you ever consider having your kids call you Papa instead of like Dad or
for
or
one
father?
second? For 1 second, I thought you were going to go somewhere else with that one, and
I don't even
no.
know.
Yeah,
were
yeah,
thinking.
no, I think the audience, everyone knows where we thought you were going to go with it. No, I've never thought that I would have my kids call me Papa.
Papa, that
Let
kind of
alone
thing, like
Big
Sound of
Papa.
Music.
Yeah.
Big
No.
Papa. Well, obviously not. But well, Big Fella, as we know from
Big
this
fella
summer.
is that's what my middle daughter, my 11-year-old, calls me whenever I'm like irritated and I'm asking her to do something. She's like, okay, big fella, okay. And
Very
it's
condescending.
but it's incredibly well placed, and it's very hard to get mad at her when she does
I
that.
appreciate it.
Even though I am actually probably generally pretty mad at her for something that she's
Well, you
doing generally
can't-
to her brother, her younger brother.
You can't deny the burn. You got to respect a solid burn, right? My kids are constantly trying to burn me. They're terrible at it. It gets very annoying. My 5-year-old will just, because he thinks burning is funny, and to yell burn after something is funny, and he'll just like straight up be like, "You're ugly, burn." I'm like, that's not quite. I mean, I guess sort of. But it's funny that you mentioned your kids don't call you Big Papa, because tonight's episode we're going to talk about, you know, some of the favorite stuff you used to do before you had kids that you had to jettison or get rid of. And for a lot of people, and sometimes, and situationally myself included, listening to hip hop or listening to like some of like the rock, like Appetite for Destruction. There's lots of misogyny and swear words and uncomfortable slang, a lot of those things. And I honestly don't play a lot of it in the car when my kids are in there.
You know, and that's part of it. We as we accumulate our family members, those listening, everyone has added a plus
At
one,
least one,
2, 3, whatever they might be, and everyone's like, hey, Dad, I don't want to listen to that, and you're like, this is classic rock, okay? And
they're like, what, from the 90s? That's what they
and
think
you're like,
classic rock
listen.
is.
Just because not everyone is into Take That, the boy band from Britain, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's my jam.
Is that the one Robbie Williams was in?
Yes.
Take That? Yeah. Look at this. I know what I'm talking about.
You do, because you know what? You're a pop culture
Savant.
Sponge.
True. Same diff. Yeah, but again, that's another one of the things, like my Netflix queue and like the kind of stuff I'm able to watch. Like some of that stuff, we're going to talk about it in a little bit, because it's in my house. Spooktober is a tradition. We'll talk about that in a minute. But I did want to make sure.
Did you have to give that up, or is this something you inherited?
No.
Another episode of the Dad and Buried podcast.
It's something my wife and I do, where throughout the month of October, Mom and Buried, often a frequent co-host, we will watch scary movies. She doesn't like legitimately scary movies. She likes movies that like the veneer of scariness, but that actually don't scare her. I like real scary stuff, more like elevated horror, like Ari Aster and like Hereditary and that kind of stuff. Anyway, I love the Babadook. But now like our 11-year-old, he's on the cusp of being able to maybe watch some of that stuff with us. But when he's around, or my 5-year-old is around, we can't necessarily watch. We end up watching like Hocus Pocus or something, which is legit one of the worst movies I've ever seen. Legit.
Well, listen, it seems like your list of complaints is a mile long and 10 miles deep, which I wouldn't have expected from
yeah, you wouldn't have. Oh, one quick thing. I do want to apologize to the listeners who were expecting Mom and Buried this episode. Wires got crossed. Scheduling, it's tough. We live in the same house. We got a lot of stuff going on. She will be back next week. We have a specific topic in mind once she once she's able to wipe her tears away about the kids growing up and moving out, even though one of them's only 5. But we'll talk about that, and I'm sure that she'll want to talk about Spooktober a little bit too, again, as it's a tradition. But tonight, me and Pete, we're gonna lower the bar for you. We're gonna do some anti-parenting, podcasting, and we're gonna talk about some of the favorite things you used to do that you can't do so much anymore because you love your kids so goddamn much.
All right, right after this.
All right, so we're going to talk about the fun stuff that you used to be able to, you took for granted that you used to be able to do before you had kids.
Oh my God, remember brunch?
Before you were married. Brunch. I do remember brunch. Sunday fun day brunch.
Oh my God. Hey, here I am. It's, what is it? 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Let's all get absolutely smashed.
Yeah, exactly. On Sunday. It's awesome.
Yeah.
That was fun. So
I'm talking Tuesday though. Because I was unemployed for a long time, Mike. And I had a real big drinking problem. And it wasn't so much brunch as it was just actually like alcohol straight from the liquor store. Anyway, you go. You say your story.
So what you're saying though is kids are a good cure for degeneracy and alcohol.
For drinking too
much.
Distilled alcohol on the street. Yes, they're a cure for that.
Mardi Gras?
Yeah, no. They're also a cause of it too.
So it's funny. So you're talking about brunch, and a lot of the stuff that I would say I miss is just being able to do that, like having free time and being able to be like, I'm going to go do whatever I want. So this week, as many people know, I'm still working from home. My parents might as well be my parents. My kids are in school. But still, like, you don't have a lot of free time. And listen to this. It was like the luxury of all luxuries. I had to go to the oral surgeon and get a couple of wisdom teeth removed. I was like in the dental chair for 2 hours, little nitrous pumping, no kids around. It's beautiful. That's where I get my kicks these days. The mouth has been sore for a while. It wasn't entirely worth it, but still
wasn't totally necessary. You were just like, I'm tired of all these teeth.
It was elective. Yeah, it was elective.
Yeah, I'm tired. I want to gum my food with my tongue instead of all these beautiful teeth. Well, why would you possibly go in for unelective dental surgery?
I did. Obviously, I didn't. You made up the joke
and
then ran with it. Anyway, so that was the big thing that happened to me over the course of the week. We were supposed to go apple picking. That got delayed.
Okay, because of this. So because basically,
no, it wasn't.
It's gotten to the point. Well, I'm just saying, your parenting has gotten to the point where you'd rather be doing elective dental surgery for a period of over 2 hours than that will then knock you out for going to apple picking and any other kind of activity.
First of all,
to be like, I can't do it because my mouth is full of blood right now.
First of all, approximately like 6 hours after I got back from this dental surgery, my wife was like, no more sympathy.
Yeah.
This too much.
The exchange rate is very, very low. Yeah,
she wasn't canceling apple picking at all. But I would rather be in the dental chair for 2 weeks than go out.
Yeah. So you come home 2 hours later, like, so where's dinner? Are you gonna get this dinner going right. Or what? Like, I can barely see straight. Well, come on, let's go.
Jeez. She wasn't. Yeah, I remember. Like the next day, I was like, oh, my teeth are okay. Like I said something. She's like,
yeah. Ooh, that's a little sore. Or you want to hear about sore? How about labor? Let me
exactly.
Tell you.
You'll never trump it. So that was my big current event of the last week, but I know that you had a little something that you came across online that you wanted to talk
So
about.
your little bit of information was the fact that you would rather be in a dental chair getting surgery than being at home with your kids. Yeah. And you know what?
Obviously.
I can't tell you how deeply I feel that. And I'm with you, and I'm there, and I'm only imagining whatever the outcome of the surgery, just being alone in that chair while someone's being like talking to you nicely, and not
Dude,
like
I'll go to
saying yelling at you or whatever, like shut
I'll
up.
go to the DMV right now. Just
Yeah,
sign me up.
Yeah,
I'm ready.
Sir, it's going to be over 12 hours. Oh, thank you,
Thank you.
beautiful
Yeah.
angel.
Give him a big hug.
Yeah. Or her.
Or her.
Bitch.
Speaking of gender.
Yeah. So speaking of gender, so we're doing this new segment, parenting news. Parenting news.
Oh, you can do that. That's pretty good. Have you considered being like a voice artist, like the guy who does trailer
Yes,
voiceovers?
I have. Yes.
Yeah.
I got shut down very hard by a
Well,
lot.
you got a face for voiceovers, so.
Oh, you're sweet. So I saw this thing. Maybe some others of you have also seen this. It is a video that someone put on that was about how they this couple is raising their child as a non-binary child.
Yes.
Okay.
Very open-minded. It is very open-minded. And
so at this point, we live in Brooklyn. I think we have a very sort of specific point of view of things. But this is the point at which it's like, okay, timeout. It's a full timeout. All right, stop what you're doing. Raising your child. Like, okay, the whole reason for us, understanding that there's a spectrum is that we can be understanding and open to it. And we're not shutting it down. We're not saying things like, oh, that's just bullshit, or, get your shit together, or like, come on, figure it out. Because why? Because we want these kids to not feel like suicide is their only option, right? Like that's not, we want them to feel like they're included. Also for us as parents, if your child comes out as gay or straight or whatever, trans or whatever, we now have a place where we can talk about it, and I think that's really, really important. Now,
well, home should be that place, right? Obviously, like it's all about acceptance and unconditional love, which is the one place you can probably get that is at home.
That's correct. That is correct. Now, here's the deal, though. No one's out there to fucking prove, like, what the fuck? No one's out there to prove that they can raise a child as non-binary and somehow be like, this is like somehow these, like, they've taken the principles of veganism and applied them to both gender and parenting, in the most like obnoxious way possible. And look, here's specifically why I'm not a big, I don't like just fully shitting on people, and I'm not but in this particular case, well, it's the philosophy behind it, really. That's the thing, and it's because they posted it, right? It wasn't someone posted it about them. It was like, hey, look, you can do this if you want to.
How great we are, yeah.
Right. This is what I'm saying. It's a pure vegan play, right? It's look how great I am.
So you're bashing these people and vegans.
Oh yes, oh yes, Mike, come on, man. This is my sweet spot. I'm pointing to the fences, and I'm gonna knock this one out of the park. This is really a very I personally, I think this is totally the wrong way to go, because like
you're saying it's virtue signaling, right?
It's completely virtue,
right?
Totally
and who
virtue.
Is it for? Who is it for?
Who is it for? It's and at the end of the day, why are you putting this kid through this? So the point is your kid, if they're a boy, if they are born a boy and they are, or they're born a girl, and they later find out that that's not exactly what they feel like they should be, that's when you're like, oh, okay, well, let's have that conversation and we can do this. But to like from the outset, like purposefully not assign a role to essentially put your kid in this weird frame of reference, like, come the fuck on.
So you're not saying like they're abusing the kid or anything, but what you're saying is either the parents are trying so hard not to like put their kids in one of society's little boxes that
Yeah.
what they're doing is basically potentially really confusing them for later and also putting them in some other weird arbitrary box that they've created, which
It's
is nothingness.
Yeah, and it's indicative of something that's just it's too way too much. Like you've gotten the wrong end of the stick. You've gone way too far on the other side of it, and I mean, first of all, it's a very sweet video, and ultimately, at the end of the day, I'm happy if the boy wants to be a boy or girl wants to be a girl. I don't even remember what it was, but the point is that like the point is that this is meant to be. It's not meant. It's the opposite. It's like literally I see Trumpism. Like literally it's the opposite. It's completely
well, it's the other side of it.
It's exactly
trying so hard to not be MAGA
like, what
head.
the fuck are you doing? Like no. What we're trying to do is just widen the goalpost so we can be more accepting of more folks, and no one has to feel like the ultimate goal is no one needs to feel shitty enough to want to be able to kill themselves. And I stop myself from saying no one wants to feel shitty, because some people should feel shitty, Mike.
Yes.
Some people should feel shitty.
So
and I'm pointing, like, I'm not, it's not you per se, at least not right now, but there, the times that you probably should have felt that way.
You want people, and I think we all, at least, liberals or whatever, want people to feel free to be whoever and whatever they want to be. I don't give a shit, right? You can do your thing, and what these parents are doing is being like, nothing exists. you can be nothing, and then in like 5-10 years, I have no idea what's going to be more confusing or less confusing, but
well, okay, let me put it this way.
For a little while, and then if the kid says, "Hold on, I want to be this other thing," just be like, "Sure, I don't care. I love you no matter what."
Well, so I guess more to the point, it was so forced. Right. And that's I think what I have issue with is the force. It's like we talked about last week, the YouTube mom making her son, who was crying and totally distraught, actually pause so she could get a thumbnail of it or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Anyway, the point is like it's too much. It's too forced, and that sucks. And okay, so let me I'll my son is 7, 2 older sisters. The amount of times that he has walked up and just basically been in like a halter top with like a wig on and like been a princess and like, with the, pusher, like all of that. It's like, that is like totally fine. That no one's going to be like, good, take that shit off of him.
Not in your house. No.
Well, not in my house.
In my house. And there's no way he's getting away with that. Put on a football helmet and we're getting it going.
Well, but that's more the point, right? That's more the point, which is, I'm not threatened or worried if my son is dressed up by my daughters in a princess outfit and is walking around in some ridiculous getup or whatever it might be. I mean, it's ridiculous is the proper term, because nothing fits. Nothing's flattering. Nothing looks good.
Well, here we go. So, I have a solution for everybody, for you, for these parents, for anybody.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
Just kids until they're like 8. They just wear potato sacks.
Yeah. Okay.
Right? Save a lot of money. Who cares if a potato sack gets, mac and cheese on it? I don't know. Can they eat mac and cheese if they're non-binary? I don't know how any of the rules are, okay? I don't know. Not the yellow dye that gives them ADHD.
Yeah.
Damn it.
God damn it. But anyway, I just thought that was something that caught my eye. I just, there is something to it where it's, I mean, we are in we're in a really
precarious,
serious, interesting time. In some cases, the bill has come due, and we are, we have to shepherd our kids through this, right? We have to like raise them through technology. We have to raise them through social media. We have to raise them through all this like information bullshit, and reckonings, right? There's a lot of stuff that we're socially that we're like we have to like acknowledge and really deal with, and all of that is important. What's not important are vegans. And let me just really,
I agree with that.
Like put a point on this, or the concept that vegans inherit and then applied to other things like raising your kid as non-binary.
So look, so you have 2 young daughters. Have either of them been like, I'm going vegan, I want to be a vegetarian or anything like that? And okay, has that changed your diet at home?
No.
You're just like in your face.
You've never seen a less compassionate, non-vegetarian family. I mean, it's like steaks everywhere, and it's like, here you go, here's some broccoli, which, but you've also never met my daughter, who's the most picky.
I have.
Have you though? Do you really?
I have, especially.
You have. That's true.
I'm a special person.
She is she's the most picky vegetarian you've ever met. Oh, right. Like there's not a vegetable that she's really into.
But she's ruled out an entire whole swath of food.
Yeah. Completely ruled out everything. But really, there's the goalposts for what vegetables she will eat are very narrow. And
so I asked, like in Pulp Fiction, Sam Jackson is like, he eats the Kahuna burger, and he's like, my girlfriend's a vegetarian. He's like, I heard this place is good, but my girlfriend's a vegetarian, which pretty much makes me a vegetarian too. And that happens, I think, with kids in certain cases. Like you had to stop smoking crack in your living room because your kids were just around, and they were like, Dad, I burned my hand on your pipes. Right?
That's right.
We have to shed certain aspects of our lifestyle when there's kids with us all
kids
the time,
around,
right?
Yeah, and so so now that we have kids, and one of them is a vegetarian, which is great, and we love that. But is it a pain in the ass? Yeah, big time. Why? Because I'm cooking other food, and I have to now cook special other food or think about. I just have to. It's extra thought that has to go in to it. And obviously, I'm willing and happy to do that. Well, not
obvious.
Happy, but
it's not super obvious.
Yeah, it's not particularly obvious. But like there's so much, and so that's it. So we have to.
That's good. I like that. So what's parenting like? There's so much.
It's just so much. Yeah, it's just so much.
A lot. Yeah.
And so to talk about things that you give up, I mean, I know you used to be an avid clarinet player.
I was, yeah.
Second that little baby showed up, and
all my dreams of being the next Woody Allen out the window. I mean, those different dreams.
Trust me.
He has like 3 or 4 dreams. He's realized a couple of them, unfortunately. But the clarinet one, that was gone. Although I every once in a while, if I go back home, my clarinet's sitting there, I'll bust out the 90210 theme. You know what it's like. You know it. You love it. I had to get rid of my Garfield collection of books.
Okay. Did you give it to
anybody out there? I think I
get rid of it. Do you give it to your kids?
No, I didn't bring it here, right? It's at my parents' house. It's like in the attic. And if my mom, she keeps asking me, can I get rid of those? I'm like, are you serious? These 19 Garfield books plus all the TV specials plus all the illustrated like Sunday ones, those things are worth $30-40 on eBay.
Yeah.
Book, maybe less than $1 a book.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Well,
but like I was mentioning before, like I think for me, it's hard. So you have one kid who's slightly older than my oldest, so 13, right? And mine is 11, just turned 11. And I honestly have a hard time remembering what my lifestyle was like before I had kids. But I remember like when I was just like a single dude and just being able to like get up on like a Saturday morning and just like walk around, maybe like when I was living in Boston, I don't know, maybe I would like take a quick puff of something and then I would go walk and I'd go to the Tower Records on Boylston Street and I'd go to like the listening station and I'd put on headphones and I'd listen to like 10 pieces, like 10 CDs, including Pieces of Me by Jewel. And then I would go buy 5 of those. And then on the walk home, I'd just put them on and be like, I waste the whole day doing that. Now I got responsibilities. I got mouths to feed. I can't just ditch my wife with the kids for like 10 hours a day unless I'm getting my wisdom teeth removed. That's the one exception. And it's just like
so now you're getting all sorts of electric surgery. My earlobes are way too big.
What else can I do?
My nostrils, they need widening.
I do. You know this. You've seen. I need calf implants. You've seen how weak my
yes,
calves are, right?
You totally do. Actually,
that's the one. That's the one last piece.
Yeah.
But it's just like the luxury of being able to do sort of whatever you want, whenever you want. And sometimes that means, just getting hammered on like a Sunday afternoon or even like the night before. Sometimes if you have something to do in the morning, like to bring your kid to Little League or something, you can't go nuts pounding brewskis all night long while you're playing poker with the boys.
Oh, Mike, you foolish little noob. You can do that. You're just unbelievably hungover and or drunk.
Unless you put
while
vodka
you're
in the water bottle,
Yeah. No, you're right. I mean, the thing is you're obviously you're much more aware now. Here's the thing: there's such that shock to the system when it goes from, okay, now we've got this little thing. Oh, this little thing's so cute. And then probably around the 18-month mark, you're like, oh, wait. So this baby's like really not going anywhere. Right?
Yeah,
Like, it's just going to be here the whole time. And now it's like walking around and requires some kind of attention, but I can't communicate with it. So what do we do? Oh, we wait till it's 5? Cool. Awesome.
It can't communicate with you. Please don't put the blame on yourself. It is that baby's fault for not being able to let you know what's what.
Thank you, Mike.
All right.
By the way, this is a support group as well for kids who can't understand things good.
This just occurred to me, and not to dwell on the whole like you're getting hammered during the day thing, but I used to when I lived in Boston and I lived in Southie, St. Patrick's Day was like, you know, you just get up at like 7 a.m. and you're just doing car bombs.
It's the only time that Bostonians wake up at 7 a.m. Hey,
once a year.
Twiggy, we gotta get up. Gilly. Any someone's name. Yeah. So it has to end with an N. Gilly, Travie.
So when my oldest Detective Munch turned 2, we had a birthday party in Brooklyn, and then we promptly moved to North Carolina. And I remember that spring, my sister's wife was visiting, and we brought our kid and we went to like St. Patrick's Day festivities or some shitty wannabe St. Patrick's Day parade on like 2 blocks in Raleigh, North Carolina. They've never even seen an Irish person. And we go to some bar and I proceed to forgot what I was doing. Too many car bombs. Next thing I know, I'm like backed out. And I remember like being home. My wife was off with her sister, right? I remember being home and waking up and in a split second being like, oh shit, where's my kid? Right? It's just like my first thought when I woke up. He wasn't with me. He was at the police station because I forgot. I'm just kidding. My wife had him. But like, that's the thing. Like when you're still transitioning from like not having kids to having kids, like even for a couple of years, maybe if you're really immature and an idiot like me. But I remember waking up and like just being like, oh shit, like did this shit just go as wrong as like anything could ever go? Well, and then that's not what happened.
Were you by yourself, or were you with friends, or what
I was with my wife and her sister, but like they got me home. Like when things went overboard, they got me home. But I forgot that, right? So next thing I know, I wake up in my bed, and like maybe my second thought is, oh shit, like is my kid with me? Because like you get like snapshots in your head, like you know, what was I doing? Getting in a cab or whatever.
Yeah.
It was not a good feeling. And then like that's the kind of thing I wouldn't necessarily call that rock bottom, but like that's the kind of, you can't do that kind of shit quite so freely anymore when you have kids, for better or worse. You know, also when you're like in your 40s.
There's plenty more to go before that bottom.
Oh yeah, for sure. But you start
when I say plenty, it's like 7, 8 feet more, probably, I would say.
Oh, I thought you meant like 3 or 4 more kids you can spare. And then
yeah. Well, then there's also, you know, if you're a musician or you were in a band and like you thought you could make it work. Actually, I'll tell a story of a guy I know, which was in a pretty serious New York City rock band that was very close in, like, I'll say the 2000s, early 2000s.
The Strokes?
You know what? They weren't the Strokes, but they toured with the Strokes. So they were the band underneath the Strokes, basically. And it just didn't work, right? It didn't work out.
So he had a kid at this point, or this was not yet?
So no, he had, I think, was or in a serious relationship, and then maybe had gotten married, was still in the band. I think their first kid, who's my daughter's age, our daughters are actually really good friends, and there was just that period there, maybe 2007, 8. It was like, okay, I'm going to business school. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
so his kid crushed his dreams.
I'll be honest with you, he fucking hates it. Like, he hates. I mean, he's crushing it. He's doing amazing. Like, I mean, when I say crushing and doing amazing, as a provider, right? He's doing all of that kind of stuff. He absolutely fucking hates it.
Yeah. I mean, well, that's what happens sometimes when you have to choose responsibility and you need to provide and stuff. Sometimes you got to suck up and do that. Not every parent, you know, dad or mom, necessarily able to make that transition. I have a lot of people that follow me on Instagram who are like child free. And when I post something, like because I'm child free friendly. I don't care if you have kids or not. Well, I'm trashing it. I'm not
Oh
going to
my
try to
God,
get
you're
you to have
so
kids.
inclusive, Mike. It's
Thank
Has
you.
anyone told you that?
Well, I'm
How
raising my kid
inclusive
to
you are?
be. I'm raising my kid to be child free and a parent at the same time. So he can
Oh
choose
yeah,
later.
okay, yeah.
But
Daddy,
they'll like
wake up.
comment.
Daddy, wake up. Yeah.
But they'll like comment under my posts and be like, "This is exactly why I don't want to have kids," and that kind of like annoys me a little bit. But at the same time, like if you have strong feelings that way, don't. Right? You're probably right. Right? If you're like really like, oh, this sounds like shit, there's a very good chance it will be shit for you. Like you won't like it. I don't like it, and I always wanted to be. I don't know. I wasn't like 5 years old being like, I can't wait to be a dad, but like I never really was like, no, that's not for me. I'm not going to do it.
Well, all right, and before we get back into other things we've given up, but like it is phases, right? There are phases that you
Oh,
go through.
100.
Like from the 6 month to 3 period is really the hardest part. I mean, you can't communicate. It's just you're
They
chasing.
can't communicate.
They can't communicate to you. By the way, this is our world. They came into it. We're not coming into their world.
You're talking to them all the time, telling them to do stuff, telling them not to do stuff, and they just can't. They're just like, blah, blah, right. That's not your fault. That's their fault.
Thank you, Mike.
Your
you know
enemy.
what? Sometimes you tell me things that I just need to hear in the right way.
You know what? That's what I'm here for, Pete.
Yeah. But I mean, but then, so as my kids are older, I've got a freshman in high school and a middle schooler and a 7-year-old. It's fun, right? It's fun to have kids now because I can joke with them and I like making fun of them. However, now I'm having to like navigate something that, social media and the whole concept of like, whatever you do, like don't post naked photos of yourself. Like, I don't want to have that conversation. That's not a conversation I want to have.
Just, you know what? Let her do what she wants to do.
No, but you have to. You got to be like, do not be stupid about these things. And you have to kind of get into it and really, keep like, the fucking visor down, not up. Luke,
I think
put it down with all the heads-up display.
Somebody suggested on the YouTube from last week's, because it's something we mentioned that we should do a kids and technology episode, and we did one a while back, but I think we should do one again, especially since our kids are getting older and really starting to get on that. But one of the things I wanted to say is, you're like, don't post naked pictures. Like, there's certain things you should understand. But what I'm realizing, which I think is probably different by kid, but common sense isn't necessarily like inherent. Like my 11-year-old doesn't have a ton of common sense. Like there's a lot of shit where I'm like, doesn't this make sense that like something like point B should follow from what your point A was? Like you just stop something halfway through or don't understand the next step in the thing. And I'm like, this is like the most basic stuff in the world. How do you not understand that? And then I realized it's my fault because it's not just something you just pick up. You've got to be trained.
Right. And now, it's like the first time your kid sees live TV, well, just pause it. And you're like, we can't. And then like they look at you like that puppy, like like no, I can't. But anyway, I think one thing that I had to for sure give up was I used to be a gamer, but not like a hardcore gamer, but just like I was into it. And I'd play Call of Duty like back in the back.
I've never played that. Yeah.
Before Modern Warfare, I was playing Call of Duty.
Modern Warfare, another game?
No, that's just like the evolution of the Call of Duty series. When it got like, when Xbox came out and they had the headsets and you could talk in the forums and I mean, it absorbed a fucking shitload of my time. When I say like I was in it, like I was I think it might have even been pre-marriage into married life. Like I was gaming like 5 6 hours.
What was your gamer tag? What was your username?
I would change it. Fatal Hug was usually my
Fatal Hug. Oh, look at you. You just wanted someone to love you.
You know what? I got called a lot of different things, and it was just not a good scene. It was not a good
scene.
It
is like video games are like, and my kid loves them now. He likes to talk to me about them. I've never been big into them. Like you, like my biggest stretch was like couple years before I was married, and I would just play like Madden, right? And I was unemployed sometimes, right? So I put music on because you don't need to listen to anything with Madden. Put music on, I would play it, and next thing you know, like 6 hours are gone. And once you like have kids on like the weekend, like you can't just erase hours like that. You can't play anymore.
So my wife, I think for what was
My
it?
wife.
My 30th or 35th birthday, I can't remember. She got me a PS3. And
God,
we
we're
got
old.
GTA 5. Yeah, super old. And I'll never forget. I was like, this is amazing. This is so cool. Wow, what incredible. And literally, it was like the doctor thing with the dentist. It was like, okay, she was like 2 hours in, and she's like, so, like, are you gonna help out or what's
You're
the
done with
scene?
that
And I'm
now,
like,
right? Yeah.
and I'm like, no, no, I'm just playing. She's like, I know, but you've been playing for like over an hour now. And I'm like, oh, okay, this is not gonna go well. So then it was like just like being a crack addict. It was like waiting for her to go to bed, getting up,
Yeah.
playing for fucking till like 3, going
Yeah.
to sleep, and then being like, oh yeah, the kid's up. Yeah, yeah, let me, I was just
Would
I
you
was just
play in
doing
front
things
of
for.
your kids?
No, I wouldn't. I mean, it was too much. I
Too
wanted. It
real.
was so like I wanted to
Time
finish the
consuming.
game so badly, so I just kind of crushed through it. And then I was like, okay, I'm not gonna fight it for this. This is not the hill I'm gonna die on.
If
So
you had to rank
yeah,
where Call of Duty stands with your kids, like you like your oldest kid most, and then
yeah,
Call
yeah,
of Duty second, and then the middle kid, or
yeah,
like where would Call of Duty fall?
yeah. Somewhere in between my middle kid and my yeah. I would have to unfortunately. No, I'm just joking.
Obviously.
It's not really it was so long ago, and honest, I kind of it was a conscious decision to compartmentalize it
Yes, that's
and
what I was
put it
gonna
in a
say.
black box and be like, bye bye, that was it. I put it on the river and I set it on fire and
Yeah,
I
yeah. I
waved
was gonna
bye
say
bye
you
to
like
it, and
you
then that's what happened. Yeah,
you
I
took it out
just
behind the barn and you shot it, and you're like,
now
that's an old part of
the,
myself that's gone now.
it was only the Wii that brought me back. So the Switch rather, the Switch brought
But
me
you play
back.
that with your kids.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And it's so great. And I love it so much. And they love it. And it's just everything about it is so good. So
So my
I'm
kids, we got so my 11-year-old loves video games, and the 5-year-old just likes to play with my 11-year-old. So we got that Animal Crossing game.
yep.
Um, and my my 11-year-old is always desperate for me to play video games with him. I play that Animal Crossing. I'm like, what the fuck is this? This is like,
It's the word
this
do
is the
not
most
play
boring
yeah.
thing I've ever seen. What do you even do?
Animal Crossing is essentially like they've somehow gamified paying taxes and like trying to like do you like figure out what your allotment is. You're like, wait, I got to get a house. I mean, literally, my middle daughter was at one point like, okay, I need at least 250,000 like gold stars to get. I'm like 250,000. That's like that sounds like relatively real money. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
houses,
right.
but I need a down
It takes her
payment.
3 years.
Yeah, yeah. She needed a down payment of 20%, but APRs are really good
Yeah,
because
honestly.
APRs are acorns and like what it's just like what the fuck is happening?
I
Yeah.
didn't know. I tried it, and I'm like, when does the game start? I'm like, oh, he's like, it is. I'm like, what is this? I'm like, what am I supposed to be doing? How is this fun? Let's put in Spider-Man so I can play that for 5 minutes and be terrible, then I can go back upstairs.
No, so Spider-Man, Breath of the Wild is
Yeah,
really the main game.
my
That's
son's favorite.
so
Yeah,
awesome.
he's
Yeah, and
obsessed with Zelda.
Mario Kart rather.
Mario, did you hear about the new Mario Brothers movie they're making, the animated one?
Yep. They really shit the bed on that one. I wonder if it's
Yeah.
going to go the way of Sonic, where they had to reanimate
Do it,
Sonic.
yeah, yeah. Well, they could easily do it with voices, I would assume. But as an Italian American myself, half Italian American, I'm just offended by the erasure. Get a one or two Italian. There's lots of
Okay,
Italian.
so who do you want?
Robert De Niro should be Mario.
Okay.
Al Pacino should be Luigi. What do we get? Sophia Loren in there as Princess Peach.
Okay.
Lorraine Bracco. Is there another female
Wow.
character? There's
Okay.
lots of,
Wow. Princess
Look, I'm
Peach
going
is
old
Lorraine
school.
Bracco? Okay, fine.
No, Princess Peach was Sophia Loren. Come on.
Oh, all right.
Although
Fine.
she may have passed recently, I'm not positive about that. She's a stunner back in the day. A real
Your
stunner.
your pop culture sponge is showing its
Dude, that's not. I mean, I don't even know if I've seen maybe like one movie with Sophia Loren in it, and also there's probably 3 people listening to this who've heard of her.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, Grumpy Old Men. She's in those, so maybe they have seen it.
yeah,
Doesn't look as
maybe.
good in Grumpy Old Man as at her peak, but you know what? She aged gracefully, Pete.
So what I mean, like there's other things as well, which is sports, like golf. Oh my God.
Yeah, I'm not a golfer, but yeah, that's another
Man.
hugely time-consuming thing where you're just like,
God
I'm getting rid
damn
of a
it.
Saturday.
Oh my God. I do not know how. I mean, really, I really don't. know how it is a drug. Golf is a
Mhm.
drug. I've seen it. Like it's like alcohol, but it's more insidious because it takes up closet space. Um,
And it includes alcohol. Like when you play, you're also drinking. At
well,
least I
again,
was.
I'm more on the space, and also the clothes are horrible. It's just the whole thing, and then the attitude. It's like, ooh, play golf. Like,
So
all
it's
right.
funny. So like it's funny that you mentioned that because women and my wife included,
Right.
if not most of all, like to make fun of like fantasy football and stuff. But the main reason I play fantasy football is because I'm not like once or twice a week going to like bar for trivia with my friends or like playing in the weekly softball league. Like it's interaction with my friends that otherwise I can't normally have. It's around a topic that I'm interested in, and it gives me an excuse to listen to. So my wife, for my birthday a couple weeks ago, got me a subscription to NFL Sunday Ticket so I can get all the Dolphins games, unfortunately, and I can watch them every weekend. But like you were saying earlier, Sunday's game like
Yeah.
went into
Happy
overtime. She
birthday.
comes in at like 7. She's like, "This is still on. What the fuck?" And I'm like, just
Yeah,
return it. I'm like, just can you send back the subscription? This is causing activity problems already.
exactly.
Thank you for the gift, but it's not worth a divorce.
Well, I mean, there we go. That's it. I mean, the other thing is just friends, right? See, like
Mm-hmm.
you just hanging out, like being able to hang out,
Hang
it
out, yeah.
becomes such a
Smart.
luxury, and you really have to. I mean, it's such an important part of your relationship is to make sure that you send your wife out, she gets to hang out with her friends
Yeah.
alone. You know what I mean? You get to hang out
Yeah.
with your friends. Um, yeah, that's so crucial, but it just happens less and less. And of course, then what happens is you need to like it's like a perfect kind of lock, like a combination lock, because all your friends who also have wives and kids
Yes.
also have to be able to hang
Yes.
out on those very
Yeah.
specific days. So generally, like what used to be your scenario of being single and waking up on Saturday and like going and just like, hey,
Doing
yo,
whatever you
you
want. Yeah.
around? Yo, are you around? And like just like
Yeah.
all of a sudden, next thing you know, there's like 12 of you rolling
Playing
deep to
wiffle
different
ball.
bars. Yeah, like rolling deep, like margaritas, this and that.
Yeah.
It's 2 a.m. You're like, you don't know where you are. The next thing you know, it's like, okay, so hey guys, I know it's September, but in November 15th, do you think you guys could meet up for 20 minutes in this location over
But
here?
dude, that's the thing. Like the fantasy football draft is used to be before COVID, like the one time a year where like we had an excuse for like 8 of us because not everybody could make it, right? So out of all the 12 people, you get like 7 or 8 of you, you can get together. And I remember every time I would do that, I would go up to like Boston and see my friends. That's where most of them were, and I'd be like, I'm like, hey, like Brendan, like, well, how often do you see Stu or how often do you see Dunny? And he'd be like, I haven't seen them in a year. Like it just does. We all have families, we all have kids. He's like, just because I live in New York and they live like nearby in Boston doesn't mean that they have any more interaction than
Right.
I do, because it's not the distance that is really the biggest problem. It's the families and the kids and just the lifestyle. And like you said,
And
they
that's
have
the
their
problem.
kids and their schedules, and you have your kids and trying to match that up. And that is the problem. So anybody listening to this is why it's the anti-parenting podcast.
So
Don't do it.
that's why I show up to soccer super wasted,
Yeah.
drinking vodka out of a water bottle.
You know what? You're entitled, Pete,
Take it
because
where I can
parents are
get.
people too. Parents are
Yeah.
people too. You know, we need to let off some steam, have some time to ourselves.
Yeah, I think that's it. I mean, it is. These are the things that you don't think about, but or I certainly didn't. And you're just like, yeah, man. But you really do need to make those decisions, and it's like, I mean, no bigger decision, honestly, than the guy I was telling you about. Had
Yeah.
aspirations
Mm-hmm.
to become like a rock star and just
Didn't
had to be
happen.
like, okay, I'm going to become a finance guy now. And like, oh my God.
What have I done?
Luckily, that was not something that I had to do, but I feel
So
I feel
it's
bad for him.
it's funny because you were like, this is the kind of thing you have to know going in, but I don't think it's possible to, right? So when I started my blog, a bunch of my kids had already had kids, and
Whoa.
my wife was pregnant, and I
A bunch of
started a
your
few months.
kids?
Not a bunch of my kids. They
Oh
had
my.
kids of their own, and I didn't like what I saw happening to their lifestyles and their personalities. Right. One of the reasons I started Dad and Buried, when it first began as a blog, and I maintain this to this day, was that like I don't want to lose my personality. I don't want to lose my lifestyle. Right. And you think,
I don't
oh,
want
it's not
you
gonna
to
happen to
lose your
me.
personality either, Mike. It's
You
so
wouldn't.
awesome.
But you're like lifestyle wise, you're like, this isn't gonna happen to me. I'm not gonna let it happen. And for a while, maybe you're not. And if you have one kid, maybe you're not. But then you have a second kid, and then just sacrifices start being made. You're going to the dentist just to get some alone time. Like,
Yeah.
there's stuff that you can't. The balance is
can't
difficult
predict.
to maintain.
I don't.
You have to make your priorities, like your friend did, and he was like, "I'm not rich. I have kids, and I've got to make this switch, even though it makes me miserable. At least my kids won't be miserable until they're my age."
Well, there we go. And
They're
I
happy
mean,
now.
so two things is like, just the fact that you, and I think this is another big part of it, which is, often the dads are like, oh, these, lazy assholes or whatever, just the perception of just, the martini lunches and like, oh, I'm at work and then I come home and I'm tired and
You're sitting at Barca Lounger with a beer.
Yeah, I mean, this is ultimately what, literally my parents generated, our parents, that's more along the lines of what our parents were doing. However, our parents were probably more progressive in that. I mean, my dad traveled all the time. And then, I mean, but he definitely was also coaching soccer and stuff like that. So when he was in town, he would like,
they were they're a little bit more involved maybe than other parents, but they were of the generation where that was.
Yeah, really, I mean, but like dude, like the number of performances like my dad was at, like, or even both my parents were at, like, it was a decent number, but it wasn't everyone. And I, truth be told, didn't really expect them to be at like.
Well, he had poker night. He had bowling league.
No, it was a stripper club thing that he was a part of, and he did a lot of. Well, he did a lot of dancing. Is the point?
Here's the important thing. When you were like, I'm not sure if I want to be like, Pete or Filipina, were they accepting?
Yes. They said, no, they weren't. They're like, the one thing we will never accept is you becoming Filipino, you son of a bitch.
What a terrible name choice.
Get out. No.
You know what?
They're like,
I don't have a problem.
We'll accept anything except being Filipino.
Except that name. Yeah.
No.
That name.
The nationality.
Oh. Is that even what I meant? That's Filipino. That's Filipino.
No, they were like, you can do anything you want, but if you become Filipino, you fucking.
Well, you know what? Maybe one day you'll be able to make that change too. That's the future the liberals want.
What? Guess what? That's my dream. I'm going to live my truth and finally become
Filipino.
A beautiful, wonderful, happy Filipino person.
Well, Elon Musk is working on that technology as we speak.
Oh, well, good for him. He's speaking of fathers of 12, like that dude has like 8 kids.
He does?
You would not know it because that dude is just very busy not going to performances and banging very strange women and having babies with them.
Can you pronounce his baby's name?
It's with Grimes. I don't even know who Grimes is, but like it's a very weird name. I don't know what it is.
No, it's like an equation. It's like a Greek letter and like a parentheses. I don't even know. Here's the thing that I might have seen that, and that might have been like a joke somebody put on Twitter, but it's not. Even if that was the joke, what I just said isn't that far from the truth. Like they're trying so hard to be like, this kid's not going to conform and not going to be normal, just like the parents you spoke about at the top, that they've doomed the kid. So in that video you were talking about, somebody in the comments was like, I don't care what the kid chooses to do, but the parents ruined him by naming him Zoomer, because that was the kid's name, which I guess is gender neutral, Zoomer, but it's now, isn't it also the name of a generation?
Okay, Zoomer.
Yeah,
there's so many people that are just gonna shut. Oh God, I can't.
Yeah.
I can't wait. By the way,
thing they did to the kid. Named him Zoomer.
We talked about this. Like it's we're supposed to come against adversity, right? That's the whole point. Otherwise, all our movies would be like, hey, I tried something and it was totally fine.
Yeah, it'd be like Ted Lasso.
There's no, exactly.
The first season.
There's no. That's not to say that abject, irrational. Obstacles you have to overcome. Like that's not to say that that's a good thing. The point is like you got to work, right? Like work is hard. Things are hard, and you got to get better, and it's not always easy, and it's you versus yourself versus other people, and blah blah blah.
Like Superman 3, when he had to fight himself. It was
exactly. I was literally thinking like Superman 3, and I was like, I hope Mike brings up Superman 3 because that's totally what I'm thinking when he says Superman 3, because that's the type of movie that I was thinking about right now.
I'm here for you. I did it.
Talking about how complicated it is to now raise our kids to be both like have hardcore work ethic and drive, but also like, oh, don't like, oh, you hurt yourself. Oh my God. Again, I was coaching, had a great coaching experience, but to this last weekend, one of the girls comes up and goes, oh, I'm bleeding. Do you have any Band-Aids? And I'm like, dude, that's like, you're not bleeding. Get
Band-Aids
back
are
out
for
there.
losers.
I said, you're not bleeding. You're going to be fine. Get back out there. I mean, she wasn't. I mean, it was, you could tell she like skinned her knee. I was like, that's fine. Just go. Come on. You're good. And I didn't have any, mainly I was covering up the fact that I didn't have the med kit with me. So I put it on
somebody
her.
off to
What I did is I put it on her, and she'll figure that out in about 20,
that's what parenting's all
years.
about.
Yeah,
that's what parenting's all about. Teaching kids to
classic parenting,
raise themselves.
And now I'm parenting other kids too, which is beautiful.
Well, that's what coaching is. You know, if you didn't want the job, you shouldn't have taken it.
You know, they say those who do, those who can't coach other people's kids. And get to yell at them for free, and it's a wonderful life. Merry Christmas, everyone.
Wow. See, look, we had Superman 3, which was like a real peak for movie references, and then you brought it to It's a Wonderful Life, which is actually a great film.
I nailed it. I brought it home, dude. That's what I did. I brought it home. So I think we got everything. Did you have anything other? Was there other things that you left out?
Once again, like we just taken a topic and just absolutely crushed it. We ripped it to shreds. I got a new mic. I sound remarkably good. Like my voice, fine form.
It's only been 60 episodes.
You put that in like the YouTube description, 43 when it's like 108. So there was a typo.
43 of no mic, of just like shitty.
You're right, because we're not in the studio anymore.
Like
So speaking of, so Mom and Buried is still going to appear. I think next week we are going to do the her anxiety over the kids kind of growing up and them being at school all day, both of them. And we'll talk a little bit about the birthday party we threw for my 11-year-old, which was, as you would guess, just lovely, wonderful, no stress. Everything went off without a hitch. There were no crying fits by anybody, including the birthday boy. Nothing like that happened. Don't worry about it. It was a good time. And then, well, you know what? Maybe by this time next week, we'll have gone apple picking. I don't know.
Oh, apple picking. Well, if there's anything that I'm desperate to do is to arrive to a field 45 minutes in a tractor ride and they go, okay, there's your apples over there. And you're like, those over there? And then you're like, okay, I've got 2 bags. Well, $60? Really, $60 for all those apples. I could have just gone to the store.
That cost extra 30. Like,
you
have to pay for getting stung by bees.
Oh yes, getting stung by bees. Oh my God, that kid got stung in the neck.
Part of the experience.
Oh God, I told you that, right? Like I went apple picking and the little boy got stung in the neck. Like right next to me. Oh,
my kid got stung at recess the other day, his first time, and they're like, is he allergic? I'm like, I don't know. It's the first. How am I supposed to know? It's his first time.
You're like, how big are his hands?
Yeah, no, he had to lose one of his hands, but I don't think that was allergies. It was just the good nurse.
Gross neglect, and lack.
Anyway,
so all right, another great episode, Mike. You've just again shown the world what a wonderful organization you've run here.
Thank you for being here with me, Pete. I wish you could be here next week, but you know what, Mama Buried is gonna be so.
Well, she's far the superior co-host, so I defer to her in all things parenting.
Wow, all things. I'm gonna let her know that, and we'll see where that comes. We'll see where that goes.
Hey, you know what's weird is the expression "give her a kiss for me." Someone said that to me about my wife. It was a woman it was a mom. It was another mom. She's like, "Oh, give your wife a kiss for me." And I just was like, that's such a weird thing. And I thought she also said something really weird about where I should kiss her. So
but then you went home and you were like,
and then I was like, you know what? It's time for me to bring it up on a podcast. So you
kissed her real good and she loved it. And you were like, sorry, that was from Phil.
Yeah, that was from Greg. From 4G. He said, like, hey, if you see your wife, she'll know what it means. Just give her a real big kiss for me. So I was like,
well, you know what? If you want, I'll give my wife a kiss for you when we're hosting next week.
Oh my God. Great. Please do. And Mike, as always, it's a bloody pleasure. You're a delight and a wonderful, sparkling, shining light.
Thanks, Pete. Same to you. If you want to listen to this podcast, please like and subscribe on Apple and Spotify and anywhere you get your podcast. Check me out on Instagram. Pete doesn't do that kind of thing because he's better than all of us. And we'll catch you next week.
See you next time.
I don't know why you would still be watching This Isn't a Marvel movie, no matter how much I look like Paul Rudd, which you can deny it all you want. It's there in the eyes, I think. I'm young looking like him. If you enjoyed the podcast, which you obviously did or you wouldn't be listening still, sign up on iTunes, Spotify, wherever you want to listen to. Comment here on YouTube, subscribe, hit that like button. We want to hear from you. Comments, questions, dirty jokes, money, all the money you can give us. We'd love it all. Catch you next time.